Today on Toy Habits Reviews, we're taking a detailed look at the Python Patrol Tele and Trubble Bubble and comparing them to their version 1 release. And before we dive into the review, smash that like button, turn on notifications, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss a beat. Hey everyone, welcome back to Toy Habits, and we have the Python Patrol Tele and the Trubble Bubble in the spotlight for you today. And let's start off like we usually do by taking a look at the box, and we can see a large battalion of Tele and Cobra flight pods taking off. And yes, this is the Python Patrol version, and it looks really awesome. I mean, it's a repaint of the first one, but I really loved this vehicle as a kid, so I'm happy that they redid another one. There's a very cool illustration of the Tele with a very nice snarl on his face. I love the way that they illustrated this, and you can see what pack-ins the Tele comes with in addition to his vehicle. Now on the side of the box we have that same illustration, just larger, and he is number 98 in the series. Now on the back of the box we see the digital renders of the figures and vehicle, and it just gives some up-close shots of some of the details that we'll be going into a little later. And on the other side of the box we have a Tele again, which is that same illustration, number 98, and a Cobra QR code that you can scan to learn more about it. Well, all right, let's take this Tele and Trubble Bubble out of the box and take a look at the figure and vehicle in more detail. All right, now that the Tele is out of the box, let's take a look at him from head all the way down to his boots, and we usually start off with the head sculpt, and he comes packed with the African American head sculpt, and you can see the snarl here. And I love the facial expression because he's wearing a helmet, so you really can't see a lot of expression that's coming out of his face, but I think they did a really good job with the facial features here. He also has some gray comm gears that's going all the way around his yellow helmet, and they look great. For a tiny head sculpt and tiny details, it's really, really nice, and it looks like a nice set of comms gear. And of course his helmet is yellow because of that Python Patrol redeco. The back of the helmet looks really neat. It's got some lines here and some bolts, and you can see the clearance between his shoulders and his helmet, and it looks really natural. And while we're back here, let's take a look at the vest armor from the back, and it has some really nice puffy detail. It's got some cross hatching, and it's got some folds, so it makes it look like it's a real piece of clothing, which is really nice. And if we turn him around to the front, we can get a better view of that vest, and it's got some pouches, and I'm assuming some protective gear because he is detonating mines in the sky, which is very important to have. Underneath the arms you can also see some more details. I'm assuming where it's connecting to the back here, so it kind of looks like a real piece of clothing all the way around. And looking at the arms, we can see a fabulous logo of the Python Patrol there on his left arm, and he also comes with a watch, which is very rare nowadays. Maybe this is an Apple Watch or something, but it looks really cool. It's gray and it has like a teal face to it. His hands also have some what look like to be some protective plates over his hand, which is great because he needs all the protection that he can get. And on his right arm, it's pretty much a mirror image without the logo on the shoulder, but it has the same kind of pouch. He does come with some telecommunications gear that's really neat. It's kind of teal colored like the watch on his other hand, and it's in that burgundy color Python Patrol deco. He also has the same plating on his right hand, which helps tie it in with the other arm. And moving down to the waist, his belt is a little bit more intricate. It is a nice burgundy color, and oh look, he actually does carry an iPhone or some sort of PDA device. And he has some nice extra pockets on the belt, and it's probably more like a utility belt because I can imagine there are telecommunications gears in these pouches as well. And if you move him around to the back, you can see the yellow of the Python Patrol shirt in between the vest and the belt, and he has some Python Patrol cross-hatching on the rear of the figure, which is also present on his legs and his thighs. And taking a look at that, it really harkens back to the vintage figure, which we will take a look in a little bit, but I love how they did the cross hatching here, and also how the pants look like they're folded in to the boots. They have some very nice gray and black detail, and it looks like a metal plate also covering his boots right here. His legs are mirror images of each other, and also his boots. So let's take a look at his other head sculpts and his weapons and accessories next. Now, given that the Televipers are the RTOs, which are the radio telecommunications operators of the Cobra ground forces, they do carry a standard modular radio pack, which we can take a look at here. And these really remind me of the vintage figure a lot, just in the shape and also the design. And it is very detailed for a backpack like this, which is really nice. You can kind of see the buttons and the antenna and the spot where his hose connects to. And on the other side, it has more like an armor plate back here and a peg to go into his back. And next, take a look at the scanner. And also his scanner resembles the vintage figure. It's very detailed, and it has a port for a blast effect, which is really, really neat. And the way that these scanners operate is that they have an automatic frequency hopper and a crypto unit and passive jamming and anti-jamming devices in these scanners. So it's a really cool piece of technology that Cobra has developed. And you can also see the peg where the hose attaches to the scanner. So let's take a look at that. Now it's really easy to put on. You just plug it in at the bottom, and there you go. This hose is basically a recast and repaint of the black hose that came with the first release of the Televiper. And you can also see that the hose also plugs in to the bottom of the communications backpack as well, which makes a really cool pairing. And he also comes with a mine, and the mine is very detailed, but when it's cast all in black, a lot of the details get washed out, and you can barely read the caution symbol, but it's there. You can also open the hatch just like the first version, just to get some detailed look on the inside here. And just let me put this back together, and we can view his original version of this mine that he came with. And here are the mines right next to each other. You can see that the other Python Patrol mine does not have any numbers or any markings on it like the original first release does. So I like that it's colored in black, but I wish it had a little more detail. And taking a look at one of the alternate head sculpts, we have the Caucasian head sculpt, and it has that same snarl and the same communication devices going all around his helmet. And this is really cool because this resembles the vintage figure. He also comes with a alternate head sculpt with a full-on covering for his face, which is really neat because we've never seen this before aside from the first release of the Televiper and Flight Pod. But I love all of the black melding in with the gray here and the yellow. It just sets it off really, really nicely. And in the back here, we have the gray pieces that come down, which is different than what you see in his other head sculpts here. All right, well, let's take a look at the Python Patrol Televiper all geared up with his alternate heads. And here's the Python Patrol Televiper all geared up with his hose, not his hose, but his hose, his scanner, and his backpack. He actually looks really cool like this, and I'm so glad that they did a Python Patrol repaint of this figure. And here's the Televiper with his Caucasian head sculpt, and I'm just bringing the other version in just for comparison because that's how I had him geared up on my shelf. So you can see that the scanners are pretty much the same. There are differences in the colors of the hose and also the telecommunications that are on the forearm here. The comms backpacks are very similar, but the Python Patrol version does not have any purple on the back of it here. But same expression and just different color glasses that they are looking through. And while he's like this, I'll bring in the vintage version of the Televiper. And so you can see where the inspiration for this really interesting paint app came from. So in the vintage figure, we have the comms device that's wrapping all the way around his head. We have the burgundy sunglasses, and the paint was actually really hard to keep on the nose of this figure. And so I'm glad that they made a classified series version because now I will have one without a bump on the nose. But the design is very similar, although the classified series version is lacking the cross hatching in the vest area here, which is actually fine because I think it would have been too much. Like a 3 3/4 inch scale figure is nice to have this cross hatching, but if it had it all over this vest, that would have been very distracting. And you can also see that the colors are different. There was a more vibrant yellow in the vintage figure, and this is more of a taxi cab yellow in the classified series. And finally, his third head sculpt, which is his helmeted head sculpt when he is flying the Trubble bubble. It has the black view that he looks out from, and also the comms devices that attach all around his headgear. And while we're at it, let's get him deconstructed with his comms devices so he can actually take flight. So let's check out the Trubble bubble next. And here's the Python Patrol version of the Trubble bubble. It comes with a black tinted canopy, which is neat, and it really sets off this teal heads-up display. You can see that the missiles are now yellow, and it does come with some extra markings where the handlebars are. So it's actually really neat that they added something to differentiate it from the first release. We also have the very large cannon that's mounted underneath here, and we also have this section here that connects the cannon to the flight controls. You can also see on the other side there is another yellow missile here, and you can also see that the engines are black with the really killer Python Patrol logo on it. There's also some yellow paint on the jets down here, and also the rudders are burgundy, like the color of the entire vehicle. Now let's take off these missiles just so you can see the detail that's on the side here. Has some really nice silver cross hatching and some yellow to set it off, so it's very readable. We also have some of the same patterns on the other side, just different markings and different lettering. But overall, the flight pod is really, really cool. And let's take a look at the Python Patrol Televiper in the flight pod next. All right, and here's the Televiper in the Trubble bubble, and it's really cool because the tinting really blocks out the light, so you can't really see who is operating this thing. But if you open up the canopy, you can see that he fits in there really well, and I really love the addition of the seat belt here because Cobra's all about safety now. The handlebars look actually like motorcycle handlebars, which is really neat because the trigger finger can actually put over the part of the handlebar that sticks out here. So it kind of looks like he's operating it like a motorcycle. He fits very naturally in this vehicle, and he just looks great all around. I love what they did with the color scheme here, and I'll bring in the original Trubble bubble just for comparison next. And here are the two versions of the Trubble bubble side by side. You can also see the way that the tinting is really blacked out here, which creates a cool effect for the Python Patrol version. The clear canopy is the nod to the vintage design, and the one on the left is the vintage design, just in updated scale. And you can also see some of the differences in the paint apps and also the decos here. So the Python Patrol goes full on in this motif, and you can also see the differences in the engines and also the missiles here. So very, very cool that they've added this to the line, and I'm a fan of this repaint, but I really love the design of these Trubble bubbles, so I'm really excited to have one of these. So all in all, I'm really pleased with this version of the Python Patrol Televiper and Flight Pod, and I just thought that they really did an amazing job with the paint app just to differentiate it from the first release.
And that wraps up the review for the Python Patrol Televiper and Trubble bubble, so let us know what you think about this figure and the vehicle in the comments below, and be sure to check out the still image review done by yours truly on our website at www.toyhabits.com, and the link is provided in the description below and the pinned comment, so be sure to check that out. And on your way out, be sure to smash that like button, and if you have not subscribed to the channel, we would really appreciate it. See you next time.